this is Ed Harrow, Hopkinton Open Space. Just kind of give you an update on what we talked about last night. It was a lengthy meeting. I think it was one of the more longer meetings that we've had. And we covered a lot of ground. The first part I can't talk about, so we'll skip over that until later time arrives when we can talk about it. And then we had Jeff Rowland, who is the head of the Sustainability Committee, come for a visit, and he had questions, one of which was forwarded to me ahead of time. So I had to do a minor bit of research, and his question was simply, can open space protect, preserve property by methods other than buying it? And so I said, I'll have to go read the legislation. And so the answer is yes, we can. We can do all kinds of things to protect property. So then my question was, well, if we do one of those things that costs money, can we use CPC money to pay for it? And so I raised that question with the Massachusetts Community Preservation Group, which I got an answer back that went at some length, but the important part was you probably need to check with your attorney. And so we have requested attorney time through the town manager so that we can get an answer to this question. And we'll see. He had other questions as to how much land in Hopkinton is being preserved at this point. And we had to be somewhat truthful and say, we're not really sure. So that's another thing that's on our hat. And I actually have a number today, not at my fingertips, of course, as to how many acres open space has under our oversight. And it's, I'm gonna make a number up of about 300 acres. In addition to that, there is the land that is owned by the state in the terms of Whitehall, in terms of a portion of Hopkinton State Park, a lot of which is actually in Ashland, and Upton State Forest. There's a considerable portion of Upton State Forest that's in Hopkinton. So those are numbers that we don't know. And then in addition to that, there's properties that are owned or covered by HALT. So the actual number of acres in the town that's conserved is fairly substantial. In terms of percentages, that's a question, again, I don't know. So that was the primary reason for Jeff to come in and ask questions, and we answered as best as we could. And like I said, we're still getting answers. So then we have a lot of parcels that are interesting to us for a variety of reasons. And we went and discussed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 parcels in a pretty high level way. And one parcel, we are interested in an easement across the parcel. There is a trail there. And so we were thinking maybe that having learned that we can do things like get easements as part of the power, for lack of a better word, that the legislation granted us, we said, well, this might be something to explore. So it's a thing to explore both on the basis of the property owner and on the basis of how we actually go about doing it, because we've never done anything like that before. Then there's a second piece of property that's adjacent to it, an empty parcel, and an attempt has been made to contact the owner thus far with no response. The next parcel was a parcel where I had contacted and discussed with the owner, and then the owner decided to not call me and Open Space and sell it. Sort of what we have to deal with. The next piece is a piece of property that the town is looking to foreclose on for back taxes. And so we have expressed great interest in it, and we have learned that this process could take as much as 18 months. And the property owner could turn around and pay the taxes, and, you know, it would stay in their hands. But, you know, we've opened the door to that parcel. And that applies to another parcel in town too, where there's the process has been started for the town to try to collect back taxes. And I've tried to be very politely emphatic to the town CFO that when something comes up like this, please let us know ahead of time. So I'm pretty sure, I'm confident that that's all going to happen. And then there was a fourth piece of property that we've made inquiries about and thus far have not heard back from the owner. Then there's parcels where much communication has gone back and forth, and they're all sort of how do I phrase this? Some of these are moving, hopefully in a positive direction, and some of these we've looked into, and I guess the issues of resolving things in terms of titles and things like that is complicated. So, you know, all these things take time. So that takes care of the properties that we're interested in. We have a piece of property on Sylvan Way where